What is up? It is Thursday. It is Thursday, right? Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Laura Jabari here with Jared Smith. Jared and I were just talking about our morning coffee and how much we love drinking a good cup of coffee. My cup today says, love ya, mean it. And Jared started putting protein powder in his coffee.
Gross shit in it, but it doesn't taste bad. It takes the place of creamer, makes it a little thicker. And also, I fast in the mornings. I only drink coffee and water until like 10, 11 o'clock, noon time, like lunchtime every day. So I need a little protein. So there's something going on in there.
He needs a little protein.
Yeah, there you go. Protein. So it's not like a skinny drink. But I do feel good after my fast. I do fast most mornings. I don't know. It's just like
that's great
personal choice.
I don't know about you or anyone else watching this show right now, but I like go to bed looking forward to my cup of coffee in the morning. Like it's like the act of like making a cup of coffee and then taking that first sip, and it's like, oh, life is good, my friend. Life is good. I like really enjoy drinking
the morning routine. Is definitely
so good on you for putting protein powder in there. Good on you.
Yeah, it's fun.
Hashtag vibe. You know what else is a vibe? Is the fact that the Super Bowl is less than a month away, like 3 weeks away. We only have 7 NFL games left in the whole 22-23 season, which is crazy. And college basketball is heating up. We're going to have our friend Jim Root coming on in a little bit to talk about college basketball now through about 20 games this season. A lot of stuff going on. And then we have Is the Trend Your Friend? So without further ado, let's get into it. Game. Let's bet it. Presented by our friends at Superbook Sports. Let's start out with Would You Rather. You know, why not? Let's start this Thursday. Get a little feisty with Would You Rather. Super Bowl. Would you rather take the Cowboys at 8-1 or the Bengals at 8-1? And I know what you're going to say. You already have your Bengals 16-1 ticket. But if you had to choose between these two teams at this odd, what would you choose? Or who would you choose?
You know me so well already. It's like you can answer my thoughts.
For those that don't
get out of my head, Jabara.
For those that don't have a 16-1 ticket, which would you take between these two?
It's a very fair question. I think the winner of Sunday's game between the Cowboys and the Niners is going to win the Super Bowl. So I think Dallas would be my choice.
Wow. I like it. Yeah, that is his best bet of this week is the Cowboys, right?
No, it's the Niners. Goodness gracious.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant the Niners.
If the Cowboys win that game, I think they're going – I think the winner of that game is going to win the Super Bowl. I think the Niners are going to win that game. But if the Cowboys
win, yeah.
They're out to win the Super Bowl because of who they're facing. They're facing the Super Bowl favorite this week. I'm pretty sure they're the Super Bowl favorite, right? Actually, let me look at that. That might not be.
I think it's the Chiefs right now that were the Super Bowl favorite a couple days ago, like a day or two.
Yeah, you're right. It is the Chiefs. So they're facing the NFC favorite. Kind of, not even really. Wow. I'll be honest with you. The Eagles being the favorite to win the NFC, it's inaccurate. They might not even be favored in the NFC Championship game against the Niners. So that number's wrong. Sorry to completely take the ship and steer it into a glacier, but the Eagles should not be favored to win the NFC because if they face the Niners next week, if they face the Niners next week, I'm almost like 55-60% sure that the Niners will likely be like a pick 'em or like a -1.
Okay.
So if the Eagles aren't even going to be a home favorite against the Niners to win the NFC, I don't understand how they're plus 150 and San Francisco's plus 170. That doesn't make
Yeah,
sense to me. But
it's crazy.
maybe it's just because of their odds this week. That's probably it, because the Eagles are 7.5-point favorites and the Niners are only 3.5. That's probably why. But if the Cowboys win this week, I mean that'll be a pretty close, because if the Cowboys beat the Niners, that'll improve their rating enough to where they won't be favored in Philly next week. And again, this is all assuming that the Eagles beat the Giants. I think that's safe something to make. But yeah, I could see the Cowboys being like a 1-2 point dog. I don't know if that's a 3-point number, but we'll see. Should be an interesting line adjustment after this weekend.
Well, that brings us into our next one right now, because if you think an NFC team is going to win, right now they're at plus 130 to win the Super Bowl, to win the Super Bowl. The AFC is favored at minus 150. Would you take the NFC at plus 130 then if you think it's going to be the Cowboys or the 49ers?
It's interesting. I guess if you think about it, based on where the odds are, clearly my initial just gut of the market was wrong, because the Chiefs are favored to win the Super Bowl, and then the Bills are second. So you would imagine
putting
that
the
either
AFC
of
on the
those
map.
teams, right? You would imagine that either of those teams would be a favorite over San Francisco or Philly in the Super Bowl. Although I'll be honest, if the Niners come out like gangbusters this week and just blow the doors off the Cowboys, there's no more hurdles for them to. Well, actually, no. Then next week we'll hear, oh, Brock Purdy's never won a playoff road game when he has to go to Philly, and then that'll be the next reason why the Niners are undervalued. Exactly. But if he passes that test and the Niners make it to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy looking great, I don't see how they're not favored in a game against the Chiefs or the Bills, because the Niners defense is light years ahead of both of those defenses. Maybe not light years ahead of the Bills, but they're definitely light years ahead of the Chiefs. And I think they're better than the Bills. Like, I think the Niners have the best defense in the NFL. And we saw what the Bucs did with the best defense in the NFL in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs a couple years ago. To be fair, though, they were not favored in that game. But the Niners should be favored, I think, if they make it to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I would say if it is Niners, the NFC plus 130, I feel like you might get some value there, because if they're like, even if they're like a 1 or a 2-point underdog, they're not going to be plus 130. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's true. It is true. It's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. All right. I want to get into is the trend your friend. I know we're going to have Jim Root on in a little bit to talk college basketball, but let's stay in the NFL for a second. Divisional round this weekend. 8 teams remain, and then there were 8. One of them is going to take it all. Not this weekend, not next weekend, but on February 12th. Is that 11th? What day is the Sunday? 12th? 12th? Thank you. February 12th, one of them will take it all. But this weekend, we have found some really fun trends. So it is time for our segment of Is the Trend Your Friend? Do you want me to go first with a couple of my trends, or do you want to go first? Because I love the one that you have in the sheet right now.
You're in charge.
I love the one that you have in the sheet, though, but I feel like we should finish with it. Okay. Sure. For me, the Chiefs, one of the worst teams against the spread all season. They're 5-11-1 ETS during the regular season. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they've been favored by massive point spreads. But if you look at their last 10 games, they're even worse. They're 2-7-1 against the spread in their last 10 games overall, which in a situation like that, I kind of like a backdoor cover and taking the points this weekend. The spread right now is set at 8.5. And I feel like this could be, a really good spot for the Jags to maybe get a backdoor cover here, especially with the way that they've been playing recently. How do you feel? I think the Chiefs are obviously going to win, but 8.5 is a lot of points to lay.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this spread. I'll be honest. I think I've heard some really good arguments for both sides. I've heard some good arguments for Jags in the first half, and then the Chiefs kind of take control of the game in the second half. Maybe Doug Peterson comes out swinging, and then our pal Andy Reid makes the right adjustments, so on and so forth, and then maybe Kansas City covers the full game, but unable to cover the first half. I definitely don't feel confident laying over a touchdown in a playoff game.
Yeah, it's a
That's
lot.
a tough ask. You have to be really confident in that team's ability to keep control of the game throughout. And a team like the Chiefs that has an explosive offense, maybe I feel a little bit less squeamish, kind of how my coffee looks this morning with all like the protein powder caked around the end. I feel a little
Yeah,
bit better about it because it's the Chiefs, and if
yeah,
it's not Brock Purdy or even Dak Prescott or one of those quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones, that no one would ever lay points in a playoff game with Daniel Jones. But, one of those quarterbacks that maybe doesn't have the experience, the explosion, the polish that
yeah.
Patty has. But I wouldn't feel comfortable laying it in this game. I think there's other ways to bet this game. The prop market, especially. I just saw Bobby's prop article drop on Pickswise.com for this game. He's got a couple of them in there. And then I gave you the Travis Kelce look yesterday on Pickswise Playbook. Please go watch Pickswise Playbook. It is live on our YouTube site. But yeah, I agree. I would say unfriend this one. I would not want to lay points with the
Unfriend
Chiefs.
the trend. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Well,
Or I
no,
guess
my
I'd friend
trend
the
is the
trend.
fact that the Chiefs aren't going to
Yeah.
come. Yeah, you're friending it. I'm like, wait a second. We're trying to make
Unfriend
sense
the
here.
Chiefs.
We're inclusive
Friend
on
the
this
trend.
show.
Yes.
I know. My other two trends favor what is my best bet this week, which is the Bengals +5. The Bengals 5-1-1 against the spread in their last 7 games in January, and Buffalo's 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 games at home. Now, this is my best bet of the week for a lot of reasons. First of all, the fact that Joe Cool is just like Joe Cool. He's 4-1 in his career in the playoffs. His only loss is obviously the Super Bowl last year. 2-0 on the road in the playoffs. 6-3 on the road this year during the regular season. He's not scared of the moment being too big. The dude's never lost a game in January in his career. He's 6-0 in his career in the month of January. And I feel like this game's going to be decided by a field goal. 5 points seems like too many for the Bengals to be getting. I truly do not know who is going to win this game. But what I saw from Josh Allen last week, and I told you this on Pickswise Playbook too, which make sure to go check it out. Our divisional round Pickswise Playbook. It is out on YouTube, on Twitter. It was awesome this week. So we break down all 4 of the games ad nauseum. But what I was saying about Josh Allen is the fact that, like, in my notes, I literally says for the Bills, Josh Allen was sporadic. He got away with it last week against Miami. If he plays like that again, I don't think he's going to get away with that against a team like the Cincinnati Bengals, whose defense is leaps and bounds right now above Miami's defense, who was injured, missing a lot of key players. At the same time, too, I looked at fourth quarter stats. Which quarterback, when under pressure in the fourth quarter, has better stats? Josh Allen right now, 67 of 115, and which is a completion percentage of 58% in the fourth quarter. 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Joe Burrow, 70% completion percentage in the fourth quarter, 11 touchdowns, which is almost double what Josh Allen has, and 2 interceptions, which is half of the amount of interceptions that Josh Allen has. I know this season Josh Allen has the most turnovers out of any quarterback in the league, but I like the Bengals this week, and those trends just kind of, favor my point here that the Bengals are going to cover the 5-point spread, getting 5 points. So how do you feel about that one?
Yeah, I forget the trend, to be honest with you. What was the trend? Give me the trend again.
Sorry, I was talking a lot. The Bengals are 5-1-1 ATS in their last 7 games in January, and Buffalo is 2-5 ATS in their last 7 games at home.
Okay.
And they're
like
1-5
those.
ATS in their last 6 against teams with a winning record. So, like, everything is favoring me in this sense.
Yeah. The Bengals definitely have the trend angle in their corner here. And I'll give you another one too that I gave out on Playbook yesterday that I absolutely love. The Bengals have 21 straight games without losing by more than a field goal when Jamar Chase is in the lineup.
Wow.
21 straight games. They have not lost by more than 3 when Jamar Chase plays. So I'm with you here. I would friend this. I don't think I have the stone. Well, here's this is the beauty of the futures market. This is why I love the futures market. I don't need the Bengals to win this game. I've got the Bills and the Chiefs in futures as well. So it gives me flexibility to play, Yeah, and when you bet them earlier in the season, you have really good numbers, and you could play 2 or 3 of them. And then if you get 2 or 3 of them in the fun, I mean, there's a chance that I have Eagles, Niners to win the NFC, Eagles to win the NFC, and then Bills, Chiefs, Bengals, Chiefs. There's a chance that I have futures on all 4 finalists next week. And if it plays out that way, great. But if not, what it allows me to do this week, it allows me to use the teaser market to my advantage. And that's how I feel about this Bengals Bills game. I really think this is a good, because I agree with you. I think this is going to be a close game. And if we can make it even more, we can make the margin for error even more in our favor. We can manipulate the lines even more in our favor if we push that Bengals Bills game to 11. And then we pair it with another game. I'll tell you, it's pretty obvious which one I'm going to pair it with, but it'll give us that much more wiggle room for that Bengals Bills game. So I'm with you. I fully support the Bengals keeping this game close. I do think that's kind of the vibe based off of the season that we've seen, especially with these two teams, and especially with the emotion that is going to be coursing through Orchard Park. I'm assuming DeMar Hamlin will be on the sidelines. From what I'm reading, he's been in the team facility like every day this week.
Yeah.
So I would be surprised at this point if he's not at least in the booth, maybe not on the field, but definitely in the building come Sunday. And yeah, this game is going to be, I think the Sunday games clearly are going to be the 2 real games. Like the Saturday games are definitely going to be a little bit more like warm-ups to the Sunday vibes. Just my hunch. But yeah, let's friend.
It's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I know Jim is ready. Do you want to give me your trend quick, or do you want to come back to it after Jim's done?
Yeah, whatever you want to do. We'll go to Jim. He's been waiting patiently.
Let's bring in Jim. Jim's waiting, and we've missed him. We want to have him back on the show. Yeah. Let's do it. Bring in our guy, Jim Root. College basketball content for 3 Men Weave, the Field of 68, and Action Network. Jimmy boy! He's back. He's better than ever.
What up, bud? Nice. Big win for Mizzou last night.
Yeah, riding high. I'm wearing the logo. I got the flag. I got to represent when I can.
The flag is right side up.
That's right. It's been that way all year. How about that?
Nice.
How are we? I missed you. I haven't seen you since last season.
I know. Missed you guys too. It's great to be back. I always enjoy this time of the year when some football fans start to migrate over to my beloved college hoops. We start talking. We start really digging into the nitty gritty here, the meat and potatoes of the gambling. I've been up to my neck with it since early November. So it's nice to, throw a life preserver and have other people climb on board.
Yeah. Yeah. Share the love. We had a really big game on Tuesday between Kansas and Kansas State. Obviously, Kansas State came out on top of that one. Do you think that they will be a top 3 seed in the tournament this year come the end of March?
All right. I'm starting bringing a rain cloud here. I'm going negative a little bit. I don't think they're going to be top 3. Looking at bracket matrix right now to kind of assess where things stand, they are right on the cusp. They're like the last 3 seed. But looking at a couple underlying things, they're 4-0 in overtime games this year. They're 3-0 in other games decided by 5 or less. They're not like lucky. I don't want to like paint that narrative like Providence got painted with last year, but they are very good in close games. And sometimes those just are bounces that go your way. Shots that go in that are dicey or shots that miss. Sometimes it's out of your control, I guess is what I'm saying. And between that and the gauntlet they're about to go through in the Big 12, they're really reliant on 2 guys. It's tough to do that through an 18-game schedule in the Big 12. And they're non-conference. They don't have any top 50 wins. It's not as strong as you might think given the record. I think they're going to end up falling to like a 5 seed, and they're going to be that really high floor, or high ceiling, low floor team because of, they have 2 stars, and then the rest of the roster is kind of there or not on any given night. And that makes them dicey.
I think it's a valid, just the way that the Big 12 is structured this year. It's by far the most dominant conference in America. Do you think that helps or hurts these teams come tournament time? Because we've seen it go in both directions. The Big 10 every year, best conference. And then in the tournament, they can't make it past the Elite 8. Is the gauntlet too much for some of these teams to overcome in March?
I had some people chirping at me that Houston's going to be all ready to dominate because they play in such a soft conference. And people, I think, go back and forth with that in Gonzaga. They can't win a title because they play in a soft conference, but they go far because they play in a soft conference. I'm like, wait a second. seems like it should be one or the other.
Doesn't make
I
sense.
don't totally buy that the conference strength affects how a team does in the league. I think it's more about the structure of the team. The Big Ten struggles, I've started to credit more towards their reliance on big men rather than the actual conference itself. Trying to play through bigs is tough in a postseason. You can almost game plan them out more than you can a guard. So I think these Big 12 teams, it'll come down to each team. And really somebody like Kansas State, they've got a dominant point guard, like all conference level, probably fringe All-American level with the way Noel's playing. Keontae Johnson, the former Florida transfer, also looking fringe All-American-esque. That's why I think they've got high upside, because you got two guys that can just take over games, combine for 50, and boom, suddenly you're in the Sweet 16, and you don't really have to worry about getting possibly upset. But we'll see. Like if it's, I don't want to paint it as a conference narrative. I do think I want to try to assess each team individually as we go.
Yeah, that's smart.
Let's take it to the ACC. Virginia, are they back to being the real deal? I know covering the Hawks, my guy DeAndre Hunter would love to hear that they're back, but right now they're 13-3 on the season, 10th in the AP poll. Are they back? Are they the real deal?
They're back in a sense that I think they're going to win the ACC. I think they're like a perfect regular season team where they are consistent in their approach every night. They're almost business workman-like. They're so well coached. I think over a 20-game sample, that's fantastic. But what they're missing is a guy like your guy DeAndre. They don't have that pro, that NBA caliber guy that is going to push them over the top in the postseason. I mean, even I don't think there's a Ty Jerome on this team, and he's also kind of in the pros as well. They're just a bunch of like adults that go about their business properly. They've gotten a little extra shooting from Bennett Vanderplas in their freshman class, but I think in a game where teams are super game planning for them for this one single game, they can come up a little short because they lack that extra gear of talent. That 2019 team, I mean, it was ridiculous with Hunter and Jerome and Guy, and you go down the list. This one, I just don't feel like it quite has the same juice coming down late down the stretch in games.
Let's go to Boca Raton, Florida, my old stomping grounds. I don't know if you guys knew this, but I used to work at Florida Atlantic for multiple years. I've called many games in this arena, and they were never this good when I worked there. That's for damn sure. They have one loss on their schedule to Ole Miss way back in November. Since then, they've won 16 straight games. To be fair, they play in Conference USA, which is, a good mid-major, but not the best mid-major. Do you think, Jim, that this is a team, first of all, can they win it? Can they make it to the tournament with an at-large bid? First question, do they have to win Conference USA just to get into the tournament? And second, can they cause a little damage in the tournament as well? Are the Owls going to be hooting come March?
Yeah, man, I think we're going to see some hooting Owls for sure. I buy this team completely. If you're going for the first question, like,
first of all, I just hate. Yeah, we're gonna see some hoot now. I don't know why I hated that so much.
Well, it's a Hooters thing, probably, Lauren. Sorry if we offended you. We apologize.
I just couldn't hold it in. I'm sorry. I'm immature. Okay. Keep going.
All right. No, I think they can get in with an at-large. Like their resume right now is really strong. The win at Florida is aging solidly. It's going to be a Q1 win, I think, for the entire season. And then you only have one loss. Like there's only so many nits you can pick in a team with one loss. And CUSA has some landmines, but they've already swept North Texas. They've already won against UAB. That's like 3 of the 4 toughest games they're going to play in North that
Texas
league.
Is a tough place to play. The Pit, that is not an easy place to play. I've called a game there before too.
and North Texas like just makes you play this grinding, slow style. And so for Florida Atlantic, a team that's really guard oriented, to have swept both those games, I think is massively impressive. And that's their great strength in the postseason is they have like a million guards. At any time on the floor, they've got 4 guys that can create their own shot. They can hit a 3. And then they have a dueling center combo that includes Vlad Golden, who's formerly of Texas Tech, like a true 7-footer. It's pretty rare you get a mid-major that's got that kind of size. You add that to the just total surplus of playmakers that they have. I'm in, man. I think the Owls are going to be a tough out, both in Conference USA tournament, and if they go down, they'll still get out large. And then in the NCAA tournament, teams are going to have just a pain preparing for them.
Lauren, do the Owl
it's going to be really...
you can do it.
Who for
it? Do it all the time.
See, oh, that's great.
See?
think it's good, right?
Amazing. She's very
Out of
talented.
every team.
Very talented.
Thank you. Thanks, Jared. Out of every team in college basketball, which team are we maybe overlooking right now that can possibly make a run over the next month or so?
I'd struggle with this one. This is a tough question. I went with St. Mary's as maybe the number one team to say, just from a lens of they're 8th in Ken Pom, they're 5th in Bart Torvik, and they're unranked in the AP poll. So maybe like
Played Houston real tough.
Yeah, the external expectations around them maybe not as high, just the perception of where that AP poll lands them.
Yeah.
And they had a couple weird losses, home to Colorado State, Washington on a neutral. It's like, okay, does a top 10 team lose those games?
In overtime.
So. Yeah. They've done a little bit of what people cut Gonzaga for every year. They're just blowing out inferior competition, blowing out the WCC, kind of raising their ceiling. But the one under the radar thing that I think has been important is Aiden Mahaney, their freshman point guard, has been a star the last like 2 to 3 weeks. This guy was like a top 100 recruit, something you don't really see a lot at St. Mary's, giving them some real playmaking, scoring, can create out of pick and rolls. Combined with the way they play defense, which is like, look at what they did to Indiana last year in the NCAA tournament, just completely dismantled them in the first round.
Yeah.
You add that defense to having some more juice, scoring guards. I think they've got a chance to make a real run. We'll see where they get seeded because of those losses I mentioned, but they have really high upside. I saw somebody speculating if they were a 7 seed and they played 2 seed Arizona in the second round, St. Mary's would be favored, like given some of the markets and where they have them. So you've got a chance to get some high value on the Gales.
Our pal Tim Murray would eat that stinky line up.
Yes, he would.
If it is a 2-7 Arizona and St. Mary's favorite. It's funny because we always joke like they've played the Sisters of the Poor. Well, St. Mary's literally has played Academy of Art. That actually is a team on their schedule. And they only won by 20. Yeah, and they only won by 20. So that's I mean, the Academy of Art dropped 64 on St. Mary's, who has a top 10 defense. And I'll close with this before we get into tonight's picks, because I think it kind of bleeds into St. Mary's. But there's a certain profile that we look for with teams that can make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. And a lot of the 4 factors on Ken Pom clearly are high factors in that. But I think St. Mary's meets that because they're a top 10 defense that play at a very slow tempo. So they're not afraid to grind out games. Are there other teams that you think kind of meet that profile that obviously aren't at the tippy top of the list, because the Houstons and the Kansases and the Purdues of the world, we know that they can defend and we know they can grind out games. But are there other teams maybe that, again, we're kind of quote unquote overlooking that fit that championship profile, teams that can defend, teams that can grind out games that, hey, we should probably be taking a close look at them once the calendar does turn to March?
Yeah, maybe half the Big 12, I think, probably qualifies here. They're structured like that.
The entire
Oklahoma
12,
State,
basically.
Iowa State, all those teams, like they'll grind you in the half court and play really, really good defense. I wrote a couple of other teams down for the overlook question that maybe don't fit that exact definition. But Marquette, Illinois, Baylor, I think are teams that
Marquette had a nice win yesterday.
Yeah, these guys are almost the opposite, where they're like fantastic offense that can explode at any time, and the defense maybe is lagging. And I know in past years we've talked about like Purdue last year, we kept zeroing in on that defense. Be like, can they really go far with the defense?
We were waiting for them to blow it.
Yep, and unfortunately it was a 15 seed that took care of them. But so I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching a little on some of these offenses. But Illinois, I think that was a team with some high expectations coming into the year. They had this weird lull pre-Christmas, after Christmas, where they played horrible. And then Sky Clark stepped away from the team. The last 4 to 5 games have been fantastic out of them. I think they've shown the optionality in lineups, versatility defensively and offensively, a lot of different guys that can score, really strong guard play. They've got a combination of veterans and freshmen that can each make plays. I'm starting to think Illinois is emerging into this real threat in a postseason setting. They're not as reliant on a big guy as they've been in the past, like most Big Ten teams really are. They're more versatile and dangerous. I think Illinois is going to be a team to reckon with come postseason time.
I like that. No more Kofi Coburn clog in the middle.
Yep.
Before we let you go, have to get your picks for tonight. Who you got?
Oh yeah, I told Jared I'd bring a couple unders. How dare I not?
Obviously.
I don't have the audacity to do that. I'll start with the side. The one side I'm on.
Show if you didn't bring it on.
Yeah, I would never be invited back. That would make sense.
No.
But I'll start with the one side I'm on. That's Utah -3. They are hosting Washington State. Battle of the Smiths on the sideline. Kyle Smith for Washington State, Craig Smith for Utah.
Brothers.
Two coaches I think are fantastic. But I like this defense. Utah at elevation. They've already beaten Arizona here, home to Utah. Washington State has some shooting, but they really struggle in the half court. They don't have like a true clear point guard creator, a guy that runs pick and rolls for them over and over. I think that's going to show up against Utah's defense, and the Utes can score at this level. They can shoot a little bit. They've got an awesome big man in Carlson that dominates the paint. So I'll lay 3 there at home. I think Utah is slightly better, and I give more than 3 per home at that altitude.
Yeah.
And my couple unders here, UC Riverside and UC Davis. Big injury concern with Riverside. Their starting point guard, Zion Pullen, has been out. This totals at 144. I think if he doesn't play, they really struggle to create points. They'll be more content to play a slow game. So there's a chance he's back. I still like it if he's back, but I love it if he's out. And then last one, extra board, ugly, really diving in the dumpster for this one. Texas A&M Commerce and New Orleans. Commerce is brand new to D1. They have been kind of bringing this like slow the game down, muck it up type of identity from Division II. They're one of the slower defensive-minded Division II teams. They've really played that way in league play. I think they try to slow down New Orleans, who's kind of this like jet up and down, get to the rim transition type squad. So I'll go under 146.5 between those two.
But New Orleans
I like it. Jim Root. I like
Turn
it.
it over
Jim,
a
I
lot.
haven't said this
I
since
love
last
that.
year. Jim Root is planting the seeds of knowledge in our brain.
boy, here
with
we
the
go.
college
There we go.
basketball.
The catchphrase.
Love
There it
to
is.
see it. Jimmy Boy, I know, I love it. Jimmy Boy, great to have you back. We're looking forward to chatting with you through the next few months, throughout all of postseason, everything, the rest of regular season. Thank you for coming on. We missed you.
It's good to be back. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Crushed it, bud.
Good to be
Great
back.
job.
Make sure to follow him on Twitter at Second Chance Points, college basketball content
Yes,
for 3 Men
do
Week,
that.
Field of 68, and Action Network, our guy, Jim Root. Okay, before we get into our best bets, give me your trend really quick for the NFL, because we're coming back to that. And I like how you put it in there with the check marks.
Yeah, so I copied this from one of the friends of the program, Ryan Kramer, who's a esteemed member, founding father of the Sports Gambling Podcast. We've had his co-host Sean Green on the show many times, and he posted this earlier in the week, and I absolutely loved it. And so I wanted to share it with you guys because it's very relevant to this week. So since 2003, division rivals have faced off in the divisional round 6 times. And the underdogs are 5-1 against the spread, 4-2 straight up. And we did talk about this last year with it was really 2 years ago, 2021 playoffs, 2020 season, Bucks Saints, the year that the Bucks won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They lost the Saints twice in the regular season, got over the hump in the divisional round. Last year, it happened in the championship round. So doesn't quite apply to the divisional round, but also the team that won twice during the regular season lost in the championship round last year. So the last 2 years, we have seen a third go-around in the divisional round or later. And each of those 2 times, the underdog who has lost 2 times in the regular season to the favorite has not only won against the spread, but they've also won outright. And again, since 2003, divisional rivals that have faced off in the divisional round 6 times, 5-1 against the spread, 4-2 straight up. So it's been an impressive trend. So keep that in mind before you lay with Philly this week. I would not lay the full 7.5 with the Eagles this week. I think they're a teaser game. I do think that the Giants defense is going to be what does them in the end. And I also think that the Eagles defense is going to make Daniel Jones look significantly worse than he did last week. And I think I'm very close to getting to the window on almost every single New York Giants skill position player to the under with their yards total this week, including Daniel Jones. But I do think that trend is impactful because I do think this game will be relatively nip and tuck. I think it's going to be relatively low scoring. I think the Eagles win, but man, that trend scares me. Last week, I backed the trend of the first time playoff quarterbacks and it burned me. I don't think I'm going to just blindly back this trend, but it's definitely in the back of my mind this week that the third time has not been the charm for these divisional rivals. Third time against each other in a season. So it's been a struggle for the team that's won twice. And it's been a struggle for the favorite. So keep that in mind.
So I guess you could say the third time is the charm for a team like the New York Giants. But we will see. Before we get into our best bets, some news out of Tampa Bay. The Bucs officially fired Byron Leftwich, their offensive coordinator. It makes sense at this point. So interesting to note, Tampa Bay no longer has Byron Leftwich heading into next season. I wonder who's going to take over that role. Before we go to Pickswise.com, Gerard, we got to talk about our friends at Superbook Sports. Can you beat Vegas this football season? Superbook gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, no one across the pond setting lines for American sports, just the best team of traders in the business at the Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, some of the best odds, boosts, and promo bets in the country. So if you're in Arizona, Colorado, Iowa, Nevada, New Jersey, or Tennessee, download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com to start your battle against Vegas. From superbook.com to pickswise.com, I'm sure we have at least one or two 3-star plays of the day. Who do we have on the site today?
You would be correct, my friend. We have one NBA game, Bulls Pistons total. Hermantis Nita checking in there. We have a college basketball total. Charleston Monmouth. Monmouth is awful. I was looking at this game last night. Monmouth, I think, is like 1-17 this year. But Joe Williams is betting a total in that game. Tyler Mortimer checking in. Preds Blues total. And then Christopher Moraes Caps Coyotes puck line. You can probably guess where that one's going. But there are 4 3-star plays on the site today.
You love to see it. And fun fact for you guys, that Pistons game is actually being played in Paris during the day today. So the team is out there in France, and they're playing there. Our best bets of the day. Who you got for yours?
Yeah, so I'll be honest. I think you should just bet all 3 of Jim's picks, and I think you're going to go at least 2-1. But of the 3 that he gave us, I think my favorite one is absolutely Texas A&M Commerce and New Orleans, the under. And I would be lying to you if I had one shred of knowledge about either of these teams. But again, scroll back to Jim explaining why Texas A&M Commerce, who's a Division II school that likes to slow things down and muck it up, are going to kind of throw mud all over the Privateers tonight and keep that game under the total. I believe it's 146.5 from what I've seen. You're not going to see a lot of sports books offer that, and you're likely going to have to go to the extra game category in certain, depending on which sports book you use. Some of those games only show up in certain areas because it's one of those random ass games on the schedule that doesn't even have a real rotation number. It has a 6-digit rotation number. Most of the games have a 3-digit rotation number. So, you're going to have to search for that one. But I would bet all 3 of Jim's picks. Utah -3, Riverside Davis under, Commerce New Orleans under. But for my quote-unquote play of the day, you know how I feel about categorizing those. All 3 are the same units, 1 unit each. But I'll give you the play of the day. Texas A&M Commerce, New Orleans, under 146.5 in the extra category. Hopefully the not extra points in the game, just extra category for the bet.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I'm taking mine to the ice because what's new, guys? We've hit 6 of our last 7 NHL play of the day bets. And so I'm going back to the well with the Boston Bruins today. I like their money line. And this is probably one of the shortest money line favorites that you're going to find them on this entire season because they are the best team in the National Hockey League. I got it at -111. If you're feeling a little frisky, bet their three-way money line, or like they like to call it a 60-minute money line this year with no push. It has to finish regulation. You get that at +142 if you wanted it plus money. That means it cannot go into overtime. But the Bruins sitting on top of the conference right now. They are on the second half of their back-to-back. They played the New York Islanders last night. But guess what? They're playing the Rangers tonight. Like, that travel is not bad at all. You're already in New York. You don't really need to travel. The Rangers are coming off of a win against the Blue Jackets. They've had 2 days off. Their last game was on Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday. Their last game was on Monday. They've had Tuesday, Wednesday off. I'm like, what day of the week is it again? But the Bruins won the first matchup between these two teams in November, 5-2, and they are the most dominant team in the National Hockey League this season. They've scored 166 goals so far this season, which is best in the league. On the power play, they're converting at a 28% rate. They also have an 11.1 shooting percentage as a team, which is a full point above the league average. Now, I know this is the second half of a back-to-back, so their backup goaltender, Jeremy Swayman, is going to be in net for the Bruins. He did have a shutout in his last game. He stopped 29 shots against the Philadelphia Flyers. He's 10-3-3 on the season as a backup with a .912 save percentage and a 2.35 goals against average. That's better than some of the starters in the league this season. And defensively, the Bruins have only allowed 94 goals this entire season, which is the best in the NHL. When you look at the Rangers, their shining star, and the same for last season, has been Igor Shesterkin, right? He's been so good. He's 27-6 on the season, 2.43 goals against average, .918 save percentage. His last game was a loss to the Canadiens. He allowed 2 goals, 31 shots in that one. You just cannot, though, go against the Boston Bruins. I mean, over their last 4 games, they're only allowing 1.75 goals per game. The Rangers are giving up 2.2 in their last 5. This could be a good spot for an under, too. The total right now is set at 6, but my best bet is the Boston Bruins money line. I also feel, too, Jared, like special teams make a big difference. Boston has the 3rd best power play at 28%, the best penalty killing unit in the NHL. They're killing off 86.2% of penalties. The Rangers power play is kind of in the middle of the pack, 22%. Their PK is also clicking at an 80.5% rate, which is like top 13, 14, I think. But the Bruins have only lost 9 games all season. 4 of those were in overtime. They've won 35 games. They've been a cash cow. And I just want to keep cashing. I'm going to ride that wave until it's done. If you're feeling a little frisky and think the game's going to finish not in overtime, it's going to finish in regulation, take their 60-minute money line. Get it at the plus money, at plus 142. But for me, knowing they're on the second half of a back-to-back, I feel a little bit more comfortable betting the money line and also not laying too much for it. It's only minus 111. So give me the Boston Bruins money line for my play of the day. That's it for us today, guys. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. That's Jared Smith. I'm Lauren Jabara. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Friday Fun Day. Fun Day Friday? We'll go with that. Until then, let's get it. Let's bet it.